Hey everybody. I don't actually let me change my because I don't need a virtual background. I don't need a virtual background. And I didn't mean to put one up either. I didn't mean to do that. But we're here. So yeah, sorry about that. I didn't know why I came on here and made this a background, but it didn't really need to be one. So hey Donna Dash. Hey Timmy, Chrissy, Erica. Hey everybody. Oh, I like Nova Phonics. I like that name. Hey Jacqueline F and Unique Star. I'm just trying to shout y'all out, by the way, so y'all know. I initially was gonna come on here and discuss something else with you guys, but because of time constraints, hold on, where's my chewing thing so I can put these aligners in place? That's the one thing I forgot to do. I'm over here trying to make sure the audio is right, and I'm telling myself, because you be up here talking to yourself, you be on mute, and they don't be hearing you, but you still be talking. So I was trying to make sure I had all that right, and then I forgot to bite down on this thing so that my aligners can shift in place. Hey, positive gal. I'm busy introverting. Introverts sometimes be the biggest freaks if y'all think about it. Hey, D Nice and Priscilla Harris. Yana Flower Flow Chronicle said we miss you on YouTube. We on YouTube right now. We're live on YouTube right now. And we live on YouTube and we got some stuff that we need to get into, and we are going to get into it. This is what I'm biting on, y'all, just so y'all know. I'm biting on this. I'm biting on this just so y'all know. Hey, saying I'm glad that you're still here. Everybody fell off. They done turned into Nazis. I've seen some surprising statements from some content creators that I'm familiar with. That's all I'll say is I've seen some statements that was really, really, really interesting and concerning to me. Akila said, did you stop doing Tuesdays on YouTube? I was never doing Tuesdays on YouTube. I was doing Fridays. Fridays are YouTube days. Is what they are. Sipster said, I'm struggling with my Invisalign. Everybody who wears Invisalign struggles with them. I'm struggling too. I only have 1 week left though. I have 1 week left, so I'm on the tail end of mine. But everybody who has done Invisalign struggles with it. It's hard to have them. It's hard to have them. It's hard to adjust to them. I switched into another new pair 2 days ago. So mine isn't even adjusted to my mouth yet. This pair isn't. So if I don't bite down on these, it'll make me super, super lispy. And I don't want to be. You said you won't have time to stay because you're at work, but good luck with the stream. You can watch the playback. The playback will be up for at least 24 hours. Thank you so much, Timmy Akimbo, for promoting the Patreon. Definitely for those of you who are not subscribed to Patreon, I'll talk about a little bit about that now. I'll pin the link to the Patreon to the chat box shortly here. That's where all of my content is. I only go live on Fridays on YouTube. This is the only day that I go live. And then the live stream will stay up for 24 hours, and then it will be on Patreon as well. There is different tiers. And so if y'all want to come on over and watch content, I'm actually about to do some exclusive content over there soon. Because I need to drop another exclusive content video. So I'm going to be doing that soon for the tiers that it's on. But all of my content is over on Patreon. Y'all know I don't really be on YouTube like that. Sometimes I'll post like a little clip from a video and put it on YouTube, but for the most part, I really don't post there. And I'm going to say this, I really don't want to. Because YouTube has a bunch of drama. In the Black sector, there's just a bunch of drama. Black people can't get along with each other. That's both men and women. Women will say, we say we're in this for empowerment, but if you notice, everybody's separate. And the reason everybody is separate is because people can't get along. It just is what it is. There's too much competitiveness. There's too much gossip and rumors, and everybody's not genuine. There are people who claim to be for women's empowerment, but really they rally for men. As long as those men are dressing in wigs and makeup but still socialize the same way, the people who will tell you they're not male identified, they will be worshiping males. They will. In society, we have a male worshiping problem, and a lot of women do not know how to detach themselves from male worship. So rather than going and defending, what they'll do is they'll separate themselves from straight men, and then they'll attach themselves to LGBTQ men. That's what they'll do. But they have to be worshiping a man. They have to. There are some women that they just have to worship men. And either they're going to worship men in dresses or they're going to worship straight men. And right now, the trend is away from heterosexual men. So they're just choosing to advocate for men who wear dresses because there's way too many. Like, if anybody is talking about this movement and they're ignoring how instrumental socialization is to the belief system and behaviors of people, you probably shouldn't be listening to them. They don't know what they're talking about. The reality is, I don't care about who has what feeling. I don't care who has what feeling. Socialization is very effective, and it happens. And if you are socialized to think like a male, if you are socialized to have, for lack of better term, I'll just say a male brain. I'll use that for lack of better terms because there is different socialization for women and men. There are certain belief systems that really you're being socialized into from the minute you're a child. Literally, before you leave your mother's womb, your socialization begins. Before you even leave the womb, the socialization is happening. So if anybody is embracing someone because they changed their attire, but they're not considering the socialization and that many of these people live their whole entire life because they are males oppressing women, then they had a change of feeling and change of attire. If they're advocating for those people, they're doing so because they are still males. Donna said males socialize males to be what they are since birth, and many women help in it. Yeah, it is. And anybody who is ignoring the socialization and telling you that a man is a woman, and they're ignoring the fact that they're socialized to think and behave like men, they don't have women's best interests at heart. They don't. Why am I saying this? The reason I'm saying this is because I don't have time to talk about this discussion, but I am going to talk about it. I've been going back and forth with myself on whether or not I even want to give attention to this situation. And I've decided that I do. And the reason I do is because Black women were accused of oppressing the LGBTQ community. I attempted to defend Black women against allegations of, mind you, Black women are notably um, one of the groups that's most in support of LGBTQ. In the Black community, Black women have been shamed for their support of LGBTQ, but then in the defense of white women as a group, a Black man set up and said Black women oppress LGBTQ because they have equal ability to access the system and weaponize it against LGBTQ, specifically trans women. So the allegation was that Black women oppress trans women. This was the allegation, even though Black women do not oppress LGBTQ. I don't care what group they're referring to in LGBTQ. Black women have been more supportive than they should. Black women have been far more supported, far more supported. So it's deeply offensive to me to hear anybody, but especially a man who has invested himself outside of the community, who is receiving financial support from Black women, who would then sit up and put Black women in a position of an oppressor in defense of white women. I don't appreciate that, so I am going to talk about it. I just don't have time to talk about it today because there's some audio that I need to play for y'all. And the reason I'm going to do it is because the bottom line is I don't appreciate people coming into a space where there is a deficit and then using it as a means of exploiting Black women when they don't have any real interest in Black women beyond Black women's willingness to support Black men. And I have a problem with that. I have a big problem with it. I'm tired of people trying to blame Black women for things that we are not to blame for. Obviously, Black women are not perfect. We are not without fault. That's the title of the video because Black women are the ones choosing to raise their kids in the hood. So I think it's quite clear that we already know Black women are not perfect. But what I'm not going to stand for, and that's why I got up there to defend Black women, what I'm not going to stand for is people trying to cast Black women as an oppressor. Absolutely not. And you're not going to say that Black women are oppressing a group of people who are predominantly white and male. It just is what it is. You're not going to, just because you feel the need to defend white women, which you can defend them if you want to, but you won't defend them, not while I'm around. You won't defend them by putting a stigma on Black women that they don't deserve to have on them. Absolutely not. That's the problem. That's the problem that I have. Because what I saw was Black women being put in an oppressor category simply because I pointed out white women's history of oppression and their current oppressive behaviors that are, mind you, documented and well known. You can literally get on ChatGTP and ChatGTP will tell you that Black women lack the power and control over any group of people because that's what's necessary. Black women lack power and control and the ability to actually oppress someone. Giving an opinion, not agreeing with whatever, does not make oppression. It just is what it is. But I don't have time to go into all of that today because I actually have an appointment. Actually, I have to jump off. That's why I came on here 15 minutes earlier than I would, because I need to jump off 15 minutes to the second hour. So I'm only going to do like probably an hour and 45 minutes today. Then I have to jump off and I have an appointment and then I have another appointment. So I have a lot of appointments today. And so I don't have time to go over everything that needs to be gone over because I feel like this is really insidious and I'm tired of it. I really am. I'm tired of it. And I already said in 2025, I'm calling people out. And it's 2025, so I'm calling people out. It just is what it is. You don't get to sit up and call Black people, Black women, oppressors over essentially white males, because that was essentially the accusation. When you break it down, essentially Black women are being accused of oppressing white males. That's what they're, a marginalized group. Just because you're outside of a group does not mean that you possess the power to oppress that group. Absolutely not. Well, we're not going to sit here. And the thing of it is this is an issue for me. It is an issue for me. And I'm trying to work on the pettiness in me, because the pettiness in me wants to emphasize this point over and over and over throughout the entirety of the year and drill it in and never let it go. Because this is sick and disgusting. It's like, really, how dare you? How dare you put the same women who are financially supporting you, how dare you lump them into an oppressor group just because you want to defend the real oppressors, the one that you just so happen to go home to every night? It's a problem. And it will be addressed because it's insidious and it's disgusting, and the statement was doubled down on. It wasn't retracted, and it's not my fault that y'all over there don't know the meaning of words. Just because y'all don't know the meaning of oppression don't mean you get to throw it around at black women. That's the problem. Black women have oppressed nobody. The oppressor is the person that you laid up and had kids with. That's who the oppressor is. And you were triggered because I pointed that out, so you chose to throw black women under the bus. And I don't appreciate it. And even talking about it is irritating me. Because it's the level of audacity. And that's the thing. Bandits may not have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it at. They may be laying on an air mattress on the floor in their mama's basement. But the one thing they gonna have is a whole bunch of audacity. And shame on the muling, low self-esteem having women who decided to pay the person who was demeaning and degrading them. Y'all literally are the same ones who was probably running over there to Kevin Samuels, a failed bandit who was behind on child support. Y'all were probably the same ones running over there. Y'all probably the same weak pygmies who will do spell work to get a man to like you. That's the type of women that's over there. Because if you will throw money at somebody who's saying that you're an oppressor in defense of the actual historical and present documented oppressor, something's wrong with your self-esteem. Something is wrong with your self-esteem. Like literally sitting up over there being the very definition of a mammy. And y'all know I don't even really call people mammy, but over there, what you will go into is a whole bunch of mammies. That's exactly what you will deal with. Probably big back mammies too. Well, now I don't know what anybody looked like, but a few of them over there sounded like they had a big back. Specifically, the one that was going way too hard trying to get some attention. Like, don't ever do all that to get me to acknowledge you. If I said I don't want to acknowledge you, then bitch, you too irrelevant for me to acknowledge. You will have to keep it pushing. But don't just be a groupie and keep trying to get some attention from someone who doesn't want to give you attention. What are you doing over here? Says Sin, do you think DEI helps black people? What do you think about Trump blaming the DT plane crash on DEI? I think Trump will say anything, and yes, DEI has helped black people. That's the I don't think there's the discussion of whether it helped black people. I think the discussion was the fact that it didn't primarily help black people. I don't know why black people thought it was. To my understanding, the whole civil rights was signed in by Lyndon B. Johnson. That's, to my knowledge, was a man of no color. So I don't know why black people would think that anything that a white man signs off on is going to benefit them more than white people. I don't understand that. But that was the mindset. I don't get it. I think that anybody who was expecting DEI to benefit black people the most was a little bit naive. I think you would have to be naive. When have white people ever created anything that benefited black people more than it benefited them? Like when? Why would they do that? Why would they do it? I don't know why they would do it. I don't know why they would do that. Like, well, why would you think that DEI was going to benefit you? If there's people in the white community who can suck benefits from DEI, and if they qualify for it, obviously, is what do y'all think is going to happen when reparations are actually doled out? Reparations is going to be off the table until most of the descendants of slaves are white. And then you'll get some reparations because it'll then be going to the white community. And black men are actively working on that too, by the way. They've been doing it. It goes unchecked. And black women will be over there throwing money at one of the ones that's literally whiting out and creating the next generation of white supremacists. It's just interesting to me. It's just interesting. You said it was for white women. Yeah, I mean, anything that's signed off on by white men, you should assume is going to mostly benefit white women, as it should. I can tell you DEI has benefited the black community more than black men have. I can tell you DEI has elevated more black women than black men have. I can assure you that DEI was more than anything that black men created for the black community. So it's interesting that we will be running around saying what DEI did or did not do, and there's zero, like black men couldn't give y'all, even if black men were in a position to give you a job, they wouldn't give you one. And we know this because Kanye West is over there being sued as we speak for racial discrimination, and it wasn't against white people. So at the end of the day, even when black men can employ you, they don't. So while black women are running around foolishly listening to black men, they couldn't even give you a job. They couldn't give you a house. If all of these housing places choose to start discriminating, you just go be living in your car, I guess, because black men can't offer you nothing. They too busy trying to lay up in your house or they mama's house or in somebody's basement of their house on a damn air mattress. They trying to nest somewhere. So ain't no bandit about to offer nobody out here no job. Number one, they can't even offer it to themselves. And number two, even if they could, they would offer it to a person who was white. That's what they would do. Timmy said Kanye is out here pimping his new wife at the Scannies. Yeah. I mean, the man is vile. Clearly. He's very vile. That is a completely vile man. But what I want to talk about is something else that I said that literally only a hood rat will take issue with. And I want to go to this. I want to share the screen and show y'all something, because this is where I talked about this first. I put something on a post on a story. Let me share the screen for you guys. And I don't know if y'all saw this. I don't know if y'all saw this story, but let me plug it in and show y'all this story here, because this came across my feed a while back, and I do. People who are on Patreon have already seen this right here. You've already seen it. Hold on for a second. I got to get into my audio settings really quickly. Okay, there we go. Because I want to show y'all this video, and then I put a comment on here. And I said this on a panel too, on that same panel that I was trying to defend black women. There was an issue with me saying that black women should not raise their children in the hood. And I'm really confused about this one. Y'all gonna have to help me with this for a little bit. And I'm telling y'all why y'all gonna have to help me with this for a little bit. Hold on for a second, you guys. I'm just pulling up the chat box on my phone so I can see what y'all are saying. I can't see the chat while I'm sharing the screen. I'm going to play this news clip really quickly right here. And then I want to get into more of the discussion of raising children in the hood, why it is oppression. We're going to go over the definition of oppression. There are components and requirements that must be met in order for something to be oppression. An opinion that's unfavorable to a group of people is not oppression, contrary to what some people who were obviously struggling with illiteracy are unable to comprehend. That oppression is not an opinion, it's not an ideology, it's a behavior. So let's go into this video really quickly first.
He was so smart. He was really good at math. But it was stolen in a heartbeat. God called his angel back home. Lauren Aruni says her 5-year-old son, Lavari, died a week ago when bullets suddenly tore through their DeKalb County home. He was sleeping in his bed in the comfort of our home where he should be safe. And his brother was asleep right beside him, his 4-year-old brother. Sometimes out of nowhere, life is so beautiful. And then it's not so beautiful no more. Her tears fall, just like nighttime showers. You just feel empty, and you just feel like there's darkness around you.
Rooney, originally from Maryland, has no family here, but she says friends like Deshandra Hale have been her support system.
He was my baby's first friend. We were pregnant together.
That bond makes this tragedy even harder. Hale says the shooter didn't just take a child. They stole Rooney's home and her peace of mind. Now they're desperate for answers.
I just pray that it weigh in on their hearts to at least turn themselves in, or if somebody know anything, tell what you know.
Rooney may never get to see Lavari play again, but she hopes that sharing his story sparks immediate action to prevent this from happening to another family.
Love on your babies and just be careful.
This is a cute little boy.
He had a bright future.
He was.
So if y'all need to know what happened, this baby was sleeping in his bed and random bullets was flying and what hit this baby, okay? Now, let me just get off screen really quickly and I'm gonna share it again because I had to ask ChatGTP a few questions here about living in the hood and redlining and how Black people got into the hood to begin with. And we know one of the most common ways that Black people will tell you that the system, because now we're trying to act like the system is an inanimate object when really the system is white man and white woman. But the what I'm needing to say here, because my pettiness is going to make me lose my train of thought. The bottom line is the system is people. There is no system without people. People make up the system. And I think we already know the people who make up the system who are in power. I think we know, though, they're people of no color. We're not going to pretend that it's not composed of white men and white women. We're not going to do that. We're not. But the reality is, one of the primary ways in which the Black community will cite that the system has oppressed them, which was through redlining, which basically Black people will say redlining was the form of oppression that caused Black people to en masse have to live in the hood. This is what I'm gathering, because banks wouldn't give Black people loans and mortgages, which forced them to have to go live in the hood. Basically, this is what we hear happening. Oh, they pushed Black people into the hood. They pushed Black people into these ghettos as a form of racial oppression and segregation. We hear people talking about how the hood is economically stagnated, and it's economically stagnated for a reason. We'll hear how violent it is. We'll hear that the CIA done released drugs into the hoods. Basically, we'll hear a lot of talk about how the hood was constructed and why Black people were in the hood. And it's always connected to racial discrimination and oppression. However, when I told Black women, when I put on this post that Black women should not be raising their children in the hood, they took an issue with this. When I said that raising children in the hood is a form of oppression, I was told that it is not, when it is by definition. So we're going to go over the definition of oppression, or rather, we're going to look at, because I reached out to ChatGTP and asked to explain how oppression works. So we're going to go on here and we're going to go over how oppression works. And we already know this information is true because we can look at it and read it and literally see how it plays out in reality. So oppression is not about an opinion that you have. Oppression is not about what you say about a group of people. Oppression requires that you have power and control, because oppression is a circumstance that you are subjecting them to. Right, Nicolita said your biggest predator can also be your savior. So it says, when we put in explain how oppression works, oppression is the systematic and unjust use of power. You have to have power here. Black women were accused of oppressing a group of people that they have absolutely no power over. Oppression is not an opinion. It is a circumstance that you put someone in. So it's an unjust use of power to disadvantage, control, or marginalize individuals or groups. It works through various interconnected mechanisms, including institutional structures, cultural norms, economic systems, and social behaviors. Here's how oppression functions. Yeah, you have to have power and control to oppress. Number one, power and control. If you don't have power and control over that group, then you cannot oppress them. And when you live amongst other groups, you would have to have power that allows you to prevent anybody intervening while you are trying to oppress this group of people. If there is another group that can intervene, then you do not possess the power necessary to oppress anyone. Oppression is maintained by those in power to keep control over others. This can be through laws, policies, or social structures that limit opportunities for marginalized groups. It didn't say it's about you having an opinion about someone. This is not about an opinion. It does not matter what Black women say about LGBTQ. They would have to be doing something to them. Because oppression isn't about what you say. It's about what you do to a group. But nobody over there in the goof troop could tell you what Black women are doing to oppress anyone. Because Black women don't oppress people except their children when they raise them in their hoods. Yes, Black women have control and power over their children. Example, in authoritarian regimes, political dissenters may be silenced through censorship or imprisonment. Black women don't possess this amount of power. And they damn sure don't possess this level of power over a group that is primarily white. Institutional oppression, government, legal systems, education, and workplaces can reinforce discriminations by creating or upholding rules that favor dominant groups. Tell me when we get to it's about a person's opinion of you. Tell me when we get to that point. Example, racial segregation laws in the U.S. Notice how it's not saying opinions on racial segregation laws. It is saying the law. If you are creating a law, then that would be oppression. Historically denied. So there has to be a policy and a denial, and it has to be continuous. There's certain things that need to be here, certain elements for this to be oppression. It ain't just a Black woman saying she thinks a man is not a woman. That would not be oppression. That would actually be a biological fact. Economic oppression, limited access to wealth, jobs, and resources ensures certain groups remain economically disadvantaged. Cultural and social norms. Oppression is reinforced through beliefs, traditions, and media that portray some groups as inferior or unworthy of equal rights. Notice how even when it refers or hints at an opinion, it says it has to lead to something of you portraying them as inferior and unworthy of equal rights. Saying that a man should not be classifying as a woman does not meet oppression. It does not make oppression. Psychological oppression. Over time, oppressed individuals may internalize negative messages leading to self-doubt, low self-esteem. We know the psychological effects of it. Violence and coercion. Oppression is often enforced through physical violence, threats, or intimidation to maintain control. None of this is what Black women do. And they definitely don't do it to the LGBTQ community. Absolutely not. Resistance and perpetuation. Oppressed people often resist through activism. So we already know how oppression gets resist. By definition, the only people black women can oppress is her damn kids by putting them in the hood. Now let's look at the effects of living in the hood though. Oh, where's my thing? Because I need to find the psychological effects of y'all so you can really see the psychological effects of living in the hood. Because we seem to not understand that. So I came on here, and then I'm going to show you the comment section, and I'll open it up for anybody who disagrees. They can come on here and they can disagree if they want to. So I came on here and I asked ChatGTP, although I already very well know the effects of a person growing up in the hood. Anybody who's taken sociology or psychology would never open their mouths or in any mild way act as if it's a good thing to raise children in the hood. Anybody who has taken sociology would know that, yes, raising your kids in the hood is a form of oppression. So this is the way in which black women oppress. This is the way black women oppress, by raising children in the hood. Mind you, I believe that black women raise their children in the hood, not because they have to be in the hood, but because black men are in it. Because everything that black women do is focused around black men. If we're going to be honest, if we're going to decenter men, you have to acknowledge that you center them first. Black men are at the center of black women's world. It just is what it is. This is literally what it is. Because black women center black men as their world, they raise their children in the hoods because black men are in the hood. Now, let me just make this disclaimer. I am not poverty shaming people. I noticed a lot of people said that, oh, well, Sin, why are you judging people for their circumstance? Listen, I would never shame anybody or judge them because of being impoverished. I grew up homeless. Let's just get that 100% straight. I grew up homeless. That's about as impoverished as you can possibly get. If you are homeless, you are completely and totally impoverished. So I would never condemn anybody for being poor. However, despite the fact that we were homeless, we were not homeless in the hood. My mom never had us in the hood. That is because my mother grew up in the hood. She grew up in a hood that most people are familiar with by name, South Central. My mother grew up in South Central in LA. She didn't like growing up in the hood. She didn't want to raise her kids in the hood, so she didn't. Even when we were homeless, we still did not live in the hood. So being impoverished does not mean automatically that you have to live in the hood. Black women are choosing to live in the hood for either two reasons. And I'll give a leeway here. One, because you grew up in the hood, you're comfortable with the hood. The hood is all you know. And you maybe don't know how to get out of the hood. You might associate living in the suburbs with racism, because I've heard a lot of black women say that, oh, well, then you're going to be around a bunch of racist people and you'll die because of racism. But really, one of the leading causes of death for black women is black men. It's not racism. It's black men. That's what's actually one of your leading causes of the death. Actually, racism, didn't even see it on the list of leading cause of the death, and we already know the maternal mortality rate for black women is wholly due to racism. So again, black men are causing you to lose your life more so than racism is, exponentially more. But the other reason that black women will be in the hood is because black men are in there. And I don't care what black women say when it's time to open it up. If you disagree, feel free to come up here and we can hash it out, because like I said, poverty does not mean you have to live in the hood. Section 8 does not mean that you have to live in a hood. In some states it do, but not in all of them. Black women are making a choice to live and raise their children in neighborhoods that they know damn well they shouldn't be raising no kids in. And then when you tell them, there's a problem with you raising your kids in the hood. Everybody want to get up in arms and act like there's not. And then they want to bring up these false equivalencies. Oh, people die in all communities. Yeah, because the violence in all communities is the same. Of course you will be saying that because all violence is equally spread out through so I don't know why there will even be anywhere called a hood if all of them are the same. So I asked ChatGTP to describe the negative impact of children being raised in the hood. Because we're going to decide and agree that this is absolutely oppression, because by definition, this is oppression. Mind you, I am admitting there is a group that Black women have power and authority over, which would enable them to oppress, and though that group of people is called they damn kids. Black women have power and authority over their children, and they oppress them by raising them in these hoods. So let's look at it. Children raised in underprivileged neighborhoods, often referred to as hoods, can face a range of negative impacts due to systemic issues like poverty, crime, underfunded schools, and limited access to resources. Here are some of the key challenges they may experience. Limited educational opportunities. Schools in low-income areas often receive less funding, leading to overcrowded classrooms, outdated materials, and fewer extracurricular activities. Let's not even add the frequency of violence in these schools increases as well. The frequency of violence in these underprivileged schools is a problem too. This is oppression. Lower quality education can reduce future opportunities for higher education and well-paying jobs. The reason I'm pointing this out because this is where we can do better as Black women. You can choose to not have children in the hood until you get out the damn hood. Exposure to crime and violence. Higher crime rates in some neighborhoods can expose children to violence, gang activity, and drug-related crimes. Constant exposure to violence can lead to trauma, anxiety, and PTSD, affecting mental and emotional well-being. Lack of economic opportunities. Limited job opportunities for parents often result in financial instability, making it harder for families to meet basic needs. Children may grow up with fewer role models who demonstrate financial success through legal means. Meaning, if all you got your kid around is a bunch of damn drug dealers, guess what your kid gonna be? A drug dealer. El Nusima said, I went to a horribly public school in South London. What Sam described, I saw in my school. Yeah, and anybody who has spent one day in a school and in the hood knows this to be true. You about to experience drug deals, fightings, essays. You will experience anything in a hood school. Nia said, in Chicago, the kids have guns in schools in the hood. Yeah, this is a problem. But watch when I show you these comments from these Black women. Mind you, I was outside of the comment section. There was a hood rat banshee, an attention whoring one, who desperately wanted my attention so she can rant on and on and on about how it's not a problem to raise your kid. Listen, I'm not arguing or having a discussion with nobody who think raising their kids in the hood is okay. It's like, one, you don't know what oppression means, even when the definition is read to you. And number two, you're so tacky and uncouth that you think that raising your kid in the hood is a good thing. So we gonna go ahead and tell your dumb ass to ease on down the road. Like in 2025, we just are not acting like it's okay to raise kids in the hood. And if you can see Black people being pushed and funneled into the hood as oppression, then you damn sure need to be seeing Black women choosing to raise their children in the hood as oppression. Like, we need to be progressing. Like, you can't stay stuck in the same behaviors and then get progression. There's no excuse to raise your kids in the hood. If you can't get out the hood, don't have no kids in the hood then. then just don't have none until you can get out of the hood. But to birth a child in a neighborhood where you can't even take a walk as a pregnant woman makes no sense to me. It doesn't make, like, what future do you want for your child if you're raising it in the hood? Like, you just wouldn't advocate for this. But poor access to health care and nutrition. This is one of the biggest things that I've noticed. This is the difference between living in a suburb and living in a hood, because I did live in a hood for a short period of time, for 1 year, and that wasn't when I was a child. It was when I was an adult, and the reason I was there was because of a damn black man. So I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all know the one time I dated a hood dude, and it was the first and last time, and you could best believe it was in my early 20s. Like, I was literally 20. There was one time that I dated a dude in the hood and actually went to the hood to be with him, because he lied and said he wasn't in the hood, but he was in the hood. Bottom line is, that was the one time I was in the hood. And this was one of the biggest things I noticed. In addition to the violence, the poor access to healthcare and nutrition is a problem. Because when I was in the hood in Detroit, I had to drive to a suburb just to access a grocery store. That was a problem for me. The dude that I was with didn't even know what produce was. That was a problem for me. Destiny already said I was in the hood for 5 years because of my narcissistic mother. Yeah, the only reason I was in the hood was because of a black man. That was it. And really, I'm being honest about it. A lot of black women don't want to admit that they in the hood because that's where black men are. It just is what it is. Black men are in the hood, and they create the hood, and they make the hood what it is. Me versus the world said exactly. Sin is not lying. The access to better food is lacking in the hood. It's extremely lacking. Limited health care facilities and higher rates of food deserts contribute to poor physical and mental health. Malnutrition and lack of preventative care can lead to chronic illnesses that persist into adulthood. I'm actually now, after reading this, I'm starting to believe that these women who raise their kids in the hood don't love their kids. You don't love your children. Not with this. Not with all that comes with being in the hood. You don't love your kids if you got them in the hood. And please, you can argue with me. We will flush this out. Melvin Johnson said there's a lot of Arab-owned stores in the hood and they sell nothing but junk food. Yeah. And even if they do sell any produce in those little corner stores, they're molded and they're not fresh. They're not organic. Like, people in the hood don't have access to organic food. You don't have access to organic food in the hood. You just don't. Yet many black mothers choose to raise their kids in the hood. 5, increased risk of negative peer influence. Without positive role models or structured activities, children may be more vulnerable to negative influence like gangs, drugs, and delinquency. Pressure to fit in can lead to risky behaviors that impact their futures. Psychological and emotional struggles. Growing up in a stressful environment can increase the risk of depression, anxiety, and low self-esteem. Feelings of hopelessness or limited aspirations can lead to a lack of motivation to pursue better opportunities. This is one of the things that I believe is plaguing black women too. Feeling of hopelessness or limited aspirations can lead to a lack of motivation to pursue better opportunities. I think a lot of them are comfortable in the hood because that's all they know. Exclusive said, that's why I refuse to live in the hood as an adult. Exactly. I would never raise no kid in no damn hood. I would give it up to foster care before I raised a kid in the hood. I'm just not raising a kid in the hood. It doesn't make any sense to do so. It is. Zero Tolerance said it's a generational epidemic. It's a generational curse. And it's a curse that black women can break, because this is the standard that you can be having. If a dude can't move you out of the hood, then you shouldn't be having a kid with him. Absolutely. You really shouldn't even be dating him. But if he can't move you out of the hood, why are you starting a family in the hood? Like, I don't get it. Nia said, when you know better, you do better. I was determined not to raise my girls in the hood. Yeah, and a lot of things Black women don't know that this is not okay. They need to be told this is not okay. You don't just keep perpetuating the generational cycle of cultural dysfunction by raising your kids in the hood. Like, I don't understand the reason to do this. And I think and a lot of Black men know that this is too, because when they get with a white woman, they'll go move and shack up in a white community. They ain't gonna be sitting in no Black community. Donna says, sin, they're marrying Black men to build generational wealth by marrying Black men in the hood. Listen, you're not building generational wealth with a broke bandit who's in the deficit and who's in arrears on his child support with his other kids. Absolutely not. Barbara Mosley said, older women teach the younger women what happened, what it was like, and what it's like today. Sin was blessed by the elder group of us. No, I was not. No, I wasn't. I absolutely was not. I was led astray just like y'all were. Like, trust and believe. I had no guidance growing up. None on dating, none. The only guidance I had was basically around non-reciprocal relationships and being in the hood. And that's because my mom led by example. My mom never had us in the hood, therefore I had no sentimental ties to the hood. And when my mom talked about her upbringing, she didn't talk about South Central LA as if it was a great place to be. It was a place you don't want to go. So systemic barriers and racial inequality, institutional racism, and systemic oppression make it harder for children in these communities to break the cycle of poverty. Discriminatory policing, redlining, legacies, and school to prison pipeline create additional obstacles. You can't be having children in the hood. This needs to be a standard for Black women. If you love your children, you want the best for them. And you want to produce the best outcomes for them in life. Being in the damn hood ain't gonna produce that for you. And if a man can't get you out the hood, then he don't deserve to be having no legacy. Why are you giving a bandit a degenerate hood legacy? No. Get this woman out the hood with your dumb ass, and then you can have the baby. Where's my other theme? So I can get on here and show y'all these comments. Oh, hold on for a second. I meant to present, and I almost took myself out. That's funny. I almost took myself out of here. So I came on this post. Yeah, I learned on my own too. Absolutely. Nicolita, you said I learned most stuff on my own. My grandparents were traditional. My sisters and I are so different. They still date Black men. I don't date at all. Yeah, most Black women are still dedicated to Black men, unfortunately. Most Black women are. Definitely for no other reason than them being Black, because most Black women can't even tell you why they desire Black men, except that they're Black. And anything they mentioned would be a lie. Anything that was mentioned basically will be a lie, because Black men are not even nice. And we know as the general population, they're not nice. But I came on here and I said, I'm still not understanding why so many Black women are comfortable birthing and raising children in the hood. I would never. Black women really have to get some standards. There's no excuse to have a kid in the hood. So this is what I posted on here. Let me try to make the comments a little bit bigger, y'all, so y'all will be able to see them. But this was my comment here. And I'm going to point out some of these responses, because I've been met with this on a panel too. Oh, you're judging people. Oh, that's elitism. People have their different circumstances. Stop making excuses to raise kids in a hood. You're never going to tell me of a circumstance that's valid enough for you to be raising your kid in a hood. That's just never, it's going to fall on deaf ears with me all the time. Find a way to not have a kid in a hood. Like, there absolutely have to be some birthing standards. There has to. Right. Timmy said, imagine justifying raising a baby in poverty. I don't, especially while claiming to want to break the cycle of dysfunction in the Black community. Because the claims is to do better. The claims is to break the cycle. The plan is you're supposed to be breaking the cycle. You're not going to break the cycle by continuing to perpetuate the cycle of raising children in a damn hood. So look, and here go a bandit, and we know, look, bandits are going to be bandits, okay? Bandits will be bandits. The reason bandits will be bandits is because bandits are the ones who turned the hood into the hood. Bandits don't have to run around terrorizing Black communities with violence and turning them into the hood. They're choosing to. Blessed Black women want what other women have, to be able to have children with their own race of men. It's just hard to find a good one in our community. Yeah, the Black women are prioritizing Blackness out of vanity, and we already established that, and that's why the community is in the direction that it is. This is why we can't progress. I won't say it's why the community, well, it's part of the reason why the community is the way it is, but it's absolutely why the community is not progressing, because Black women is prioritizing skin tone over legacy. They just want to create Black children. Black women don't care where they creating them, where they raising them. They don't care about the quality of the guy. He just got to be Black because she wants some Black-skinned kids. On my own journey, said, for a family of 4 to live comfortably. Why would you have 4 kids? Not you having more than 1 kid. What is the point of having 4 kids? I feel like 2 should be max. Like, why would we be having more than 2 children? I don't get it. Religion also plays a huge role as to why Black women have children in poverty. Christianity perpetuates that struggling is a good thing, and that is heavily problematic. Yeah, you're right, and I didn't even think about that. You're absolutely right. It is. It's also a huge reason why Black women continue to deal with Black men, because to be a Christian is to be a male worshiper. Like, by virtue of what a Christian woman is, you have to worship the male. Like, literally, it is a male worshiping religion. So you're absolutely right. And if you worship males, you're not going to think about where those males are. You're just going to think about the fact that you want to be with one because you see him as a prize. So you're absolutely right. I do believe the religion does have a lot to do with it. Because Black women do actually promote being in struggles. They do. I actually think a lot of Black women pride themselves on being able to endure the many struggles that Black men constantly subject them to. And I'm going to tell y'all right now, I'm not built for struggling with no bandit. I'm not. And there ain't a bandit that I would dedicate myself to struggling to. If you struggling, you will just have to struggle on your own. I don't understand men who struggle in a patriarchy. So y'all can, whoever needs to judge me, you're free to judge me. But I don't understand men who struggle in a patriarchy. If you're going to come to me and bring me a monetary issue or tell me something that you can't do, I'm going to need an explanation as to why you can't do it in a patriarchy. I'm going to need to know. I'm not going to have sympathy for a man who's running around talking about men built everything. Okay, then go build some damn wealth. So you built everything but a strong bank account? Absolutely not. It doesn't track. If you really think men are these superior beings to where they just created everything, then don't stop at what's currently created. Build yourself a large bank account too. With your building ass. Like, why would you build everything out and you would just forget to build you some income? You would forget to build a healthy bank account. You would forget to build a 6 or 7 figure income, but you out here building up everything else. I'm gonna need you to go build that wealth and get your complaining ass out of my face if you don't go use that male privilege and be the natural provider that you are. Like, how are you a natural provider, but you didn't think that you needed something, but you didn't go build no money and no wealth so that you could provide them? And that's what I'm telling you. Men have sold an image that they can't live up to. They told y'all that they were these natural providers, yet they call women gold diggers and complain 24/7 about having to provide for their own kids. So they're not natural providers. They claim to be natural protectors, but they're the ones causing all of the harm. They're the ones that you actually need to be protected from. How are you both protector and predator? I don't understand that. How are you the villain and the savior at the same time? And that's what women think. Women think that men can occupy both villain and savior positions. No, you're either the villain or you're the savior. And I think men have very well shown that they're the villain. They've very well shown this. So because you've already showed us that you are the villain, you cannot then come back and say, here I come to save the day. No, you wrecked the day. You're the one who wrecked the day. You're the reason why the day needs to be saved. You're the reason why. Like, really? But let's get into this. Look, I dislike women who are out of touch with reality. How can a person be judged off their circumstance? If she didn't have a home, she'd be a bum. Now that she had the home, but it's in the hood, she can't win. Your comment was moronic. Do anybody win in the hood? Because you just said she can't win. She had a home in the hood, but so she can't win. Exactly, she can't. You ain't gonna win in the hood. Nobody should have a home in the hood. This woman should not have had no home in the hood. And I'm willing to bet that if she didn't have a home in the hood, her kid would probably still be alive. Why would you have a damn home in the hood? And then look at this one. The F make you think she stay in the hood. Shut the F up, please, and thanks. Why are they so mad? Because I said black women shouldn't have kids in the hood. If you got bullets flying into your window, if you got stray bullets flying into your window, you in the hood. I've lived in the suburbs the vast majority of my life with the exception of 1 year. And I can assure you, I never heard no bullet shots, let alone heard of a stray bullet flying through somebody's window. You don't hear bullet shots on a regular in the suburbs. You just don't. So if there is a stray bullet, you was either on a war zone in the Middle East or you was in the damn hood. Stray bullets only fly in 2 areas, war zones and the hood. Those are the only 2 places you got stray bullets flying. So what you mean, what makes me think that she stay in the hood? The stray bullet that killed her son while he was laying in bed is what makes me think she was in the hood. That should be enough for you to conclude that this is the hood. Yeah, they are denial. And then look, some more. How are you creating black empowerment saying stupid shit like this? You have some damn standards sitting there looking like MJ with that pale ass face. Look, I want you to see how mad she is. She's saying all of this in response to me saying, don't live in a hood. What do you think is more empowering? Telling black women not to have their kids in a hood or justifying why it's okay to have their kids in a hood? It's more empowering to tell black women not to have their damn kids in no damn hood. Black women shouldn't even be in the hood. I personally think black women should all leave the hood and let black men stay in it by their damn selves. Right. Timmy said, tell me you a hood rat without telling me you a hood rat. Hold on. Look, where's that? I gotta put that on there. Exactly. Tell me you a hood rat without telling me you a hood rat. That's exactly what it's given. That's exactly what she's trying to do. Look, damn, you sound ignorant. It sounds ignorant to tell somebody not to raise a kid in the hood. This person said, I get this. I know some people also can't afford to live in better areas. I lived a few years in the hood with my kid, but as soon as I got the means, I made a plan and moved to the suburbs. Now we no longer experience daily violence in our area, and my son goes to an excellent school. You got to want better and figure that shit out. I refuse to have my child in the hood. And see, this is the thing. When you're actually an honest person, you can admit that raising your kids in the hood is a mistake. It's probably not a good thing. You can say, well, yeah, me being in the hood is kind of temporary. I don't really have the finances to move my children to a suburbs because the cost of living there is higher, but I'm working on it. The goal should always be to never have a child in the hood, though. Look, this person is literally saying, oh, that's a fake count ran by a white person. Don't trip off them. Even if a white person is telling you to stop raising your kids in the hood, why wouldn't you receive that? Right, Yasmin, they are. They must be raising their kids in the hood. They are. They are. If they defending it, they are. And then look at him. Oh, I had to think about it like they seriously mean that comment. It has to be trolling. You got to be trolling to tell black women to not have their kids in the hood. And look at this. Violence is everywhere in every community. This comment is pure ignorance. Y'all, she wants y'all to believe that in every neighborhood, there's stray bullets flying through windows and killing people's kids. Melissa said, I worked my behind off to get out of the hood and don't have any intentions on going back. Yeah, and you, as you shouldn't. As you shouldn't. But she's going to say violence is everywhere in every community, as if violence is it occurs at the same rate and frequency in every community. Like you just wouldn't. And look, she said, oh, you're disgusting. Karma is real. Y'all, all I said is that black women shouldn't be having their kids in the hood. And now apparently karma is coming because karma is just spinning my block. Karma about to speed down my block because I said black women, I don't understand why black women continue to have kids in the hood. So now karma has to come. They done invoked karma because like you just wouldn't react this way to being in the hood. Then look, you have a nonprofit to help single motherhoods. Are they single mothers or are they single motherhoods? Anyway, to profit to help single motherhoods obtain housing in non-hood areas. If so, pass the info along and go. If not, read the first sentence again and shut up. I don't need to have a nonprofit in multiple states. Yes, they will relocate you. They absolutely will. Just call Washington, relocate to Washington, tell them your bandit done knocked your head between the washer and the dryer. And yes, they will pay and relocate you. They'll even hide your address so that bandit can't find you. Yes, there are resources, free ones, that will help single mothers. And y'all ain't gonna tell me that 99.9% of black women ain't experiencing some form of domestic violence from these abusive bandits. Because if you in the hood, it's almost guaranteed that your bandit is abusive. So yes, you can get the resources, but it would require you to report your abusive bandit, which you should be doing anyway, because you sure wouldn't be sitting here and making excuses to stay in a DV relationship. So yes, you can get relocated. Washington will do it. Oregon will do it. I know there's programs in California where you can access them. You can absolutely, there are states that will relocate you and your kids. Look at this. Really? So what is your response? Will kids get killed in suburban schools? You don't sound too bright. Which one do y'all think is more common? A drive-by in a hood or a school shooting in a white neighborhood? Which we already acknowledged that obviously there's school shooters in white neighborhoods. We already know that. But what do you think is more frequently? A drive-by in a hood or a school shooting in the suburbs? And I'm gonna go with hood for 200. I'm gonna go with hood for 200 too. I'm willing to bet you got the drive-bys in the hoods. And so we not gonna sit here and say what is my response when kids get killed in suburban schools. And even though school shootings usually take place in the suburbs, I've never been in one in my entire life. Raise your hand if you grew up in the suburbs and ain't experienced one school shooting. Because I sure did. Because even at the schools in Portland in the 90s that was kind of considered urban areas, there still was no school shooting there. Still there, even in that part, there was still no school shooting. Oh, y'all have? Okay, so a couple of y'all have, and just as amount is saying no. Okay, so some have, some haven't. I haven't. Yeah, so more of y'all haven't than more of y'all have. But yeah, I haven't ever been in a school shooting. I haven't. Not even in the one adjacent to the hood. I haven't even heard, you don't even hear bullet shots on a regular basis in neighborhoods. Now, what else also gets shot up in suburbs is malls. Malls actually have shootings in suburbs too. I'm looking for some more of these comments so y'all can see these people. And then I'm going to drop the link and we'll spend the rest of the time and y'all can come up if y'all want to and say, if you disagree with me and believe that it's okay to have a kid in the hood, then yeah, you can come up. But I'm trying to find more comments other than my own. Instagram need to understand these. But look, she's going to say, please explain to me what you mean by comfortable and don't piss me off. I don't know who this woman thinks she is, but girl, if you don't get out of here with this, don't piss me off. She said, no one cares what you would do or not do. Who the F are you to judge a mother's circumstance on life or the environment they are subjected to? You see how all those family in LA just lost everything. Baby, God giveth, God taketh away. Them tables do turn and the tongue is powerful. You judging her and God can put you in the same situation. So this is the hood rat who got her kid. She looked, yeah, definitely. Look, she looked like she got her kid in the hood. She looked like she got her kid in the hood. Like she looked like a hood type chick. She is. And it's always these hood type chicks. And then look, girl, did you really ask that? It's the fact her page says toxic, whatever, but she is clearly toxic. So it's not toxic to raise a kid in a hood with stray bullets and gang violence and drug deals all over the place. but it's toxic to tell you not to. Look, you need to take them self-help on helping yourself. The mindset is definitely a red flag, and I really hope no one is taking you seriously. How do you know she was in the hood? To my understanding, they shooting every damn where in Atlanta. Then all of Atlanta is the hood then. A neighborhood is no longer the suburbs if you got shootouts in it. It's the hood. Sinji, comment to her, give me a project, bitch. I'm not going to do that. And this is the dumbest one yet. When God is ready to bless someone, he don't care where they at. Not you suggesting that God is blessing y'all with babies in the hood. So you think God is giving you a project baby? Really, girl? Not you saying God is looking down at the women in the projects and bestowing them with these blessed babies. Girl, bye. People having sex and women are getting pregnant. Like God ain't did nothing for nobody. Hey, Stormy. Storm said he wouldn't ever want to raise kids in Atlanta. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Throw the whole state away. If they having shootouts in every neighborhood across Atlanta, then throw the whole city away. Throw the whole city away. But Storm, they out here trying to justify raising kids in the hood and somehow tell me that I'm ignorant and that karma is coming to get me because I'm telling them not to raise their kids in the hood. Now, nobody should have to tell you not to raise your kids in the hood because you just shouldn't be. Why do you want to live in the hood? Like, why do you even want to live in the hood? Phoenix Rising says Sin messing up her hood money. She do hair, sell Kool-Aid cups and fish plates in the hood she live. A fish plate sound bomb. Storm said Christianity teaches us that God will provide no matter what, but that's problematic thinking. You know, it's really interesting because I really think a lot of these women might be looking for God to elevate them from the hood, not realizing they simply, all they got to do is be willing to move out of it. There are no expectations in the hood. Yeah, the hood produces those children that you can automatically identify them because they're going to be fighting like they fought every single day in their life. Why would you want to raise, especially your daughter, in the hood and every day she's having a fight, especially if she's pretty? Queen Fear said, I'm in the hood and don't agree with everything you said, but please know that some of us here try to navigate the bullshit and supplement our kids' education till we leave. Queen Fire 08, I would love it if you come up. I would love it if you come up and then to have the discussion, because I would definitely love to know your experience and then how do you navigate it? Like, how do you navigate being in the hood? Because maybe that'll help some people who are in the hood work their way out of it. But I would love to know. I can't tell people about the hood because I've only been in the hood for a year, and that was when I was 20. And that was a hood in Detroit. And you can best believe the whole time I was in that hood, I was planning to get out because I was like, absolutely not. Amina said Black women should roommate with other women and plan to save up and level up on a 2 to 5 year plan. Yeah, but Black women have to love other Black women enough to do that. There's not enough love and trust among Black women for that to happen. But I do agree that can happen too. Voices Unbothered said, I don't know what part of Atlanta y'all lived in. Atlanta, that was the hood. That was the hood. Oh, I don't know what part of Atlanta y'all lived in. That was the hood. I lived downtown and it was fabulous. Yeah, they do have some hood areas in Atlanta, I'm sure, but they claim in all of Atlanta is a hood. Okay, so then don't go in the hood then. It's like then don't we have a kid while you live in Atlanta. But at the end of the day, let me get the link. I'm getting the link to drop it. At the end of the day, it's just not safe to have children in the hood. It's just not. And I understand, if some people are extremely impoverished, and it is difficult to get out of the hood, especially in the South, because they do segregate based on income. And that's what I've noticed. Because I lived in the South too, and I noticed in the South they have a different way of discriminating and segregating and creating those hoodish areas. And I know they do it primarily by cost of living, which isn't new, because that's essentially what redlining kind of is. So I do understand the financial aspect of it, especially if you live in the South and you have a low working wage. So I do get that. I'm not from the South. I'm from California. So even on the West Coast, number one, you have way more social programs. They're a lot better, and there's more opportunities there. And nearly all of the good programs are in the Northwest. They're not in the South. It's not in the South. So I pinned the link up so y'all can come up if y'all want to.
Hey, Sam.
Hey, Queen Fire, how are you?
I'm all right. How you doing?
Good, thank you.
Yes, Lord. Um, Basically, I raised my kid in the hood, and for a good chunk of her first life, I didn't have to. I did it because of a man, staying there trying to be with the dad and all that other good old stuff. But I made sure she was in extra programs. She was a talented and gifted kid, so like, she didn't even really get to hang with hood kids. She went to academies and magnets, church programs. Like, I mean, I kept her ass like out of the house, like away from the damn hood. She was with women that knew more than me. Anybody smarter if that I trusted, I'm gonna let her go learn from them. You know, um, And I have an affluent side of the family and a country side of the family, as well as the hood side. So she was exposed to country life as well as the affluent side too. So, like, and me now, I'm here because I can. I'm cold as fuck right now. Just being honest. So I'm still here, and my kid, she's absolutely on your side. Like, she let my grandbaby visit and stuff like that. But baby, like, honey, took like a few weeks ago, somebody killed somebody. I live in an apartment. Somebody killed somebody in the apartment for her phone.
See that right there is what I saw when I was in Detroit. So when I lived in Detroit, we were trying to go to a fireworks show. There was the shootout, so we weren't able to even get there. And then on the way back to the house, there was like a dead person in the middle of the street. Someone had took a sheet out of their house and laid it over the body. And I was like, okay, when I saw that shocked me and threw me off. I never saw nothing like that in my entire life. I was like, I've never saw anything about this. But the fact that everybody was calm, like they act like this was a regular occurrence. Like the reaction that I had was not the reaction that people in the neighborhood had or people who were outside had. They had a reaction as if they see that on a daily basis. And I didn't understand how they could live like that. Like, I didn't understand not being able to take a walk in a neighborhood because you fear you're going to be robbed, or if you're a woman, essayed or jumped or whatever. I hadn't had to live like that. I never had to worry about going to a fireworks show and then a shootout being there. So that it was shocking for me because I had never seen it. They were comfortable, and it was strange how comfortable they were. And I was like, this is insane. Like, how do you have children exposed to all of this? Like, I didn't understand it. Oh, did you mute? Because we can't hear. You have to take yourself off
My
mute.
bad. That's why I'm saying, like, I 90% agree with what you're saying. When you fully explained in the beginning of the live what you meant by that, not like I disagree with you beforehand. I love you. So I'm not basically disagreeing with too much of nothing you're saying. But like the 90% is just because if you're there, you need to try to take steps to try to protect your kid as much as you can. Don't let her, like, when granddaughter visits, she don't go outside and play with kids because I see them kids outside. I know that their parents are not involved. Like, when you have 6-year-old kids walking around apartments at 8 and 9 o'clock at night, yes, that type of stuff, so like, and that's not even the hood I grew up in seeing. Like, the hood I grew up in was more like minister society boys in the hood, but it was still a little bit more of a community back then. I don't know what has happened over the last 25 years. Like, the sense of community is totally gone.
It's
There's
gone. Yeah.
It's just no looking out for each other, so individualized, and I'm still trying to wrap that's why I'm in a house. I'm in a house for the most part, and I am looking to probably move to the country. That's my next best bet, to move to the damn country, because I think Black folks will be better off in the country anyway, but that's a whole nother discussion. But that's the only reason why it was just 90% for me, because if you're there, and I'm not saying, I agree with you. If you're there, you need to try to take steps. There are things you can do to mitigate your kids being in these up ass environments. You know what I'm saying? There are things. You can't be a lazy parent. When you got kids, like, we have a 6-year-old, 11-year-old. Every 3 days, parents take the phone, look through the algorithm. They're gonna go through about 20, 25 posters to see if the algorithm has changed. You know what I'm saying? See who you calling, who you talking to. 6-year-old not allowed to call nobody. But
Yeah.
you have to be involved. And a lot of these kids, they just running feral and rant because the fucking parents they not involved. And I think that's what we need to be talking about. Why aren't the parents involved?
Because most of the mothers are single mothers and they have to work. They have to work to provide for their kids. So they can't, like, that's the thing. The reasons a lot of single mothers struggle, I think Black single mothers is number one, the region of the country that they're in. Because even if, like, being a single mother and being poor in Washington and Oregon is not the same as being a single mother and poor in, like, North Carolina or Alabama. Like, these are two different states who have different social programs, different access to resources. And if you're poor, like in Washington, it's easier for you to be poor but not in the hood. And it's easier for you to still have your children in a bunch of different programs and to have access to, like, better schools, because you'll even if you're in a economically disenfranchised area, it's not the same as what you would see in the South. Basically, is what I'm saying. You're going to have two different experiences, because you're going to be able to transcend poverty and being in, well, first of all, you ain't going to be in too many hoods. If you're over there in Tacoma, then yeah, you will be in a hood. Tacoma does have a hood, and it is very violent, and that is in Washington. There are some unsavory parts of Seattle as well, but there's resources there and programs there so that you don't have to be in the hood. Like, for example, the Section 8 in Seattle, nobody can deny you. It doesn't matter where it's at. It doesn't matter the area. They can't deny you. They have to let you live there. So you can be living in a nice area in Seattle on Section 8. So you're poor, but you're still not in the hood. And I do understand that most Black people are in the South in this country, obviously because of the legacy, but where you're at is going to determine your experience with being impoverished and how quickly you're able to transcend poverty. And that's why I think a lot of Black people should just leave the hood and move over to the western part of the hemisphere. Because even if, let's say hypothetically, even if Black women said, okay, we're going to do better on our part to try to transform the hood, they can't do that because Black men are the ones who cause the hood to be the hood. So unless you had the participation of black men, black women wouldn't be able to turn the hood into a prosperous black neighborhood, because black men would just be actively tearing it down. This is why I think they should just leave.
I won't disagree with that either. And I seen a comment before I came in that was saying they don't know why black women haven't grouped up yet. But like you said, we too many of us don't like each other. And but I think that would be the best solution. Like find a bitch you like. Excuse me. Find a lady you like. Somebody you're comfortable with, somebody comfortable around your kids, somebody you can trust, check their credit, and start building these pods with each other, because that's the only way we're gonna get up out of a lot of this socioeconomic issues we have going on. We gotta do it together. And we can't keep waiting. We've been waiting.
Yeah.
So like how long we gonna keep on waiting on the other half? Because black women have done their part. They've more than done their part over the last 50 years. And if we had the other half of us more than doing their part, we wouldn't be in this situation. We need to get some structure back to our communities. We don't have any type of cultural structure anymore about how we raise our kids, how we act in public, how we act with our parents. All of that has been gone by the wayside. So
Yeah, we don't have any standards or codes of conduct. We have absolutely none. And that's the thing. If we as black women collectively decide that we're going to set a standard that we're not going to produce children in the hood, that right there will go a long ways. That even if we just that one standard, being unwilling to raise children in the hood, that would transform, that would do so much, because you wouldn't have your children exposed to violence on the level that happens in the hood. You wouldn't have them in areas where they're not getting healthy, nutritious meals. Like, for example, when I lived in Detroit, I noticed that there weren't any grocery stores in the neighborhood. All of the produce was like low quality, almost moldy. But whenever I was in Seattle, in those areas, there's grocery stores on every corner, like nearly grocery stores within 1 or 2 miles of each other. There's a number of different big chain grocery stores. Immediately when you walk in, they first, even the way they set up the store, they have the store with an organic fruit display where children can come in and have a piece of fruit for free. That's where the layout, how it's set up, what you see first when you walk into the store is different. Like I noticed in the hood, you see a bunch of candy displays as soon as you walk in, either candy or potato chips or sodas. And in the suburbs is fruit. They lead with like fruit. You have fresh fruit there, or some kind of alcoholic beverage, because they gotta have alcohol. But for the most part, the layouts are going to be different. The type of food is going to be different. Whether you have access to organic food is going to be different. Like when my mom switched us from regular to organic food when she was on welfare. She was on welfare when she switched to organic food. And it was when I was younger. And my mom, she had just done that. She had just switched us to organic food after she found out how much better it was for us. Before we were eating just regularly processed food. But I say this to say, depending on where you choose to live, even if you are in poverty, you will still have the access to what people who are not impoverished have, depending on where you're at. So someone in the chat box said, how is Oregon? Oregon has a lot of the same resources that Washington does. Very good ones. So does California. And granted, they have those resources because those states are predominantly white. But a lot of, especially Seattle, a lot of Africans immigrate to Seattle because of the programs they have. They have really good programs. So you can actually, as a black woman, you can try to get yourself out of poverty, but you're not going to be around a lot of black people, unfortunately. You ain't going to be around a whole bunch of black men who like black women. The black men that you see in those areas are going to, for the most part, be obsessed with white women. But unless you can be in a better neighborhood in a southern state, then yeah, you just go have your kid in the hood. And I don't think that Black women should resign themselves to having children and raising them in the hood. This is generational cycles of oppression that we're subjecting our children to.
I agree. And it social programs. I'm in Texas, so I mean, when they give us just enough.
Yeah, red states aren't going to have a lot of social programs. They don't.
And then
Red
the housing situation, because my mom is disabled. She ended up having a stroke a long time ago. So after she got out the nursing home, she qualified for voucher to get somewhere to stay. And they let her do a voucher for a few years. Next thing you know, Texas totally changed the rules to where you couldn't even get a voucher within the city. And that's when gentrification, we wasn't realizing gentrification was starting, and they was trying to push all the people out the city. So like, girl, it's a mess. It's a mess in Texas, but
It is. I don't think Black women should live in red states because they have no backing by Black men. Most Black women should be living in blue states, actually. But I have to start the timer and I have to let someone come up because there's a lot of people waiting in the room to talk. So I'm starting the 2-minute timer, and it starts with you, Coffee. You can go ahead and speak, Coffee.
Did your rapist come in your mouth? Is that why your voice is so annoying? You ugly ass.
Bandits always try to come up here. This is the bandit who just got done sucking dick and decided to come up here and project onto me. Bandit, don't try to project your dick sucking proclivities onto me. If you wanted us to know you swallow, you could have just came up and said I swallow. That's all you had to say. You didn't need to do all that. You could have just came up and said you swallow. It would have been that simple. Hey, Murder Magic Tricks.
Hey, Cynthia. How are you doing? Can you hear
Good.
me?
I can, loud and clear.
Okay, cool, because I'm outside. I'm walking around. But what I wanted to come up and say was that I do agree that living in the hood is detrimental overall to Black people, especially Black women. But I also have like mixed feelings because when I
You're cutting out, Murder. Murder Magic Tricks? Oh, I gotta pause your timer. We can't hear you. Just so you know. Murder Magic Tricks? Okay, while Murder Magic Trick deals with her connection, I'm gonna put Naya up. And I'll start your 2 minutes, and then we'll go back to Murder Magic Tricks because I can't hear anything she's saying. Naya? Naya, I'm gonna have to drop you.
I'm here.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you? I wanted to say before I start that I'm kind of like on the younger side. I'm like 15, and I've been watching your channel for at least 2 to 3 years now. So I've been a really big supporter of your channel. I really like your message.
Thank
And
you
yeah,
so much.
you're
I'm glad,
welcome.
especially at 15. I wish I had someone who I could access online that was telling me these things at 15. It would have saved me so much trauma. I'm telling you. Especially
Exactly.
considering I wasn't even dating at 15, so they would have reached me before I even started dating. Oh, they would have saved me from so much trauma.
Exactly. I'm really grateful for your message, especially to Black women and Black girls. It's very important because, the brainwashing within the Black community, it's very negative. I mean, I remember there was a time when I was like 12 years old, when I was, caping for these men, like, oh my God, why are Black men doing this? And I would always question it. And then now that I'm older and I'm like understanding it, everything is making sense now. The dynamics of the Black community, it's making sense now. Everything's making sense. But I want to stay on topic. I totally agree. Black women should not be raising their children in the hood. They just should not be. And the fact that they're getting mad and saying, oh, this is anti-Black, this is elitism, it just shows the delusion. Raising your children in the hood negatively impacts them in so many different ways. And I feel like it's very selfish that Black women sit up here and say, oh, well, we're going to raise our kids in the hood anyway. And then they'll complain when their sons die, when their daughters die. It's disgusting. And as someone who wasn't raised in the hood, thankfully to my mom, she didn't raise me in the hood, I have no connections to it, because it's like I see it from an outside, as an outsider viewing it on the outside. I see it's negative. Why do you want to go outside every day seeing people die? Why?
Yeah.
Why would you want to see that?
I'm telling you, when I saw that body in the street, I was like, absolutely not. Like, I hated it. The short year that I was there, which I want to thank the last lady who was up here, because I don't think I thanked you for coming up here and being honest. Because when I was in the hood, it was because of a Black man was in the hood too. And she came up and was honest and said, the reason I'm in the hood is because of a man. Which that is why Black women primarily is in the hood, because they want to be in proximity to Black men. They want access to Black men, and that's where Black men are. And the Black men that you find in the Northwest are not going to be ones that like Black women. They're not. So you are going to have to make that sacrifice if you do choose to relocate, because the resources just aren't in red states, obviously, because we have a orange red president who's getting rid of all of the programs, but they weren't in the South. They were not in the South. It's very different. Very, very different.
Exactly.
But it's I want to thank her for her honesty, though. But go ahead.
Exactly. Because a lot of Black women, they're not going to be honest and tell the truth about why they're in the hoods. We know it's because of these dusty males. We know that's why you guys are here. We know that. Just be honest. Just be honest. And I feel like for the Black community to move forward, we need to have these conversations. They don't want to have these conversations because it's hard. They want to blame every single thing on the quote unquote system. Everything is a system, but no, it's the men that you're laying up with. And it's also you too.
Yeah,
it's Black women too.
Mm-hmm.
And they're contributing to it because they don't want to be honest. Not every single thing that is wrong with the Black community is racism. It's just not.
Yeah, it's not. But one thing I do notice is that change is very uncomfortable. Even if you want it, change requires a lot. And I learned so much about that when I was working with people who were either, when I was a quit smoking coach and I was trying to help people quit smoking, or when I went off to health coaching and they wanted to make either weight loss changes or different lifestyle changes related to their health. Even, yes, you can come back up, murder magic tricks, absolutely. Even, and then you'll be right, you can come right in and talk. But even among the people who really wanted a change, and even among the people who were highly motivated to change, it was still hard. It was still hard for them to change. And a lot of them got off their path and they got deterred and they backslid a lot, but they stuck to it because they really wanted the change. So there is a sector of Black women who I think, number one, they're comfortable with the dynamic, so they don't really want the change. They just want Black men. And then I think there is a sector of Black women who do want change, but they don't know what change is going to take, and they may or may not be willing to do what's necessary for the change. And I think that's the issue with a lot of Black women, is if it has to do with them either opposing Black men, moving away from Black men, or not including Black men, many Black women will reject the change. They will reject it if it doesn't involve Black men, even though Black men don't even want change.
Exactly. It's very true. I wanted to talk about something that was said earlier in the live. If I remember, I'm trying to remember exactly what it
Okay,
was.
it has to be really quickly though, because then I have to give Murder Magic Trick her time, and there's a few more people up here, and I need to get them in before I get off at 45 after, because my therapy session is about to start in 30 minutes.
Yes, I understand. But yeah, like, reading the comments on the Instagram post, it was just really insane to me how these people are justifying the hood and like raising their children in the hood. I just don't get it because I'm from Florida and I lived in Dania Beach at one point, and that area is predominantly white to like white Hispanic people. And literally we never heard any gunshots, nobody was fighting outside, we never saw any violence or anything like that. We had like grocery stores like 20 minutes up the road. There was a grocery store. There was so many stores around. There's so many places that you could go to get organic food. There was even a Publix. I remember, as soon as you walk in, there's flowers, and then there's fruits right there, and everything was just, it was good. There was opportunities. People could, volunteer for stuff. There was just so many different opportunities, and in the hood you just don't get that. You just
And
don't.
you probably were able to allow your kid to go outside and play, and you didn't have to worry about them getting shot. Or if you wanted to take a walk, you could take a walk, and a pack of hood rats weren't going to try to jump you for God only knows why, or some bandit biting your eye out because you turned them down. So there's just certain things that isn't going to happen in the suburbs that is going to be a daily occurrence in the hood. And I don't want to have to adjust to that type of neighborhood. Like, I really don't. I don't want to have to adjust to
Exactly.
the hood. I don't want to have to make accommodations for my child being in the hood. And I'm glad that the other lady, she was making those accommodations for her daughter. But I mean, having to stay in the house, that's no way to live either. Because I could imagine me probably, if I lived in the hood, I would probably stay in the house too. I
Exactly.
probably would. And it would just be too much. But I want to let Murder Magic Tricks get in and say what she was going to say, because we got a few more people who want to come up. We have about four, two. There's two more people.
All right. It was nice talking to you, Sin.
Thank you so much for coming up, and thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And take whatever you can take that will help your situation, so you don't have to go through my traumas. Don't date no black man with a white woman. Don't date one that's broke. Don't date one that's broken. Don't live by his potential. Make him do what he needs to be doing. Don't accept the build a bear. Accept the man that's already accomplished. That's the biggest thing that I can pass on. Do not be his ride or die. Do not uplift him. Don't financially invest in him. It's going to be a road to nowhere. I promise you that.
I will. Thank you so much, Sin.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, I don't know what happened to my signal. Um, but what I was saying was, oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, very good,
Okay.
actually.
Okay, good. What I was gonna say was living in the hood has given me perspective, and so I have like mixed feelings about living in the hood versus living in the suburbs, because when I was very young, my mother had us living in the suburbs. So like I know what it's like to be somewhere that's safe to play and like run around. Even though in hindsight I did live next to a pedophile, but my mother never told us. She never, like, I only figured it out later in life that that guy was weird as fuck. But but even when I lived in the
A lot
hood,
of those in the
there were
suburbs too.
predators. Yeah, there are predators in the suburbs and in the hood.
Mhm.
But when I lived in the hood, I was in proximity to way more predators, and I was actually assaulted multiple times when I lived in the hood. And so because I was young and I've experienced both, it makes me feel like I know what I do and don't want in my life, if that makes any sense. And I've gone to schools in the suburbs and in the hood, and I see such a stark difference in one, how the schools look and how they're funded, but also in the types of activities extracurricular and otherwise that are available to you when you live in the suburbs versus the hood. And I remember when I was in college, when I first was in college, I had to live in the hood because I couldn't afford to live anywhere else. And I remember like my major being sociology and like realizing that I lived in a food desert when we started talking about social economics and how it deeply impacts people in poverty on purpose, which is mostly Black people. And
Yeah.
so I remember like this was before, 2020. Like I couldn't get stuff delivered. I couldn't get a taxi because I didn't have a car. So like getting a taxi to try and get to work was like very hard for me when I lived in the
Yeah, because they
hood.
don't want to go in the hood. Because they don't want to getting the pizza delivered is going to be hard in the hood because
Yeah, I couldn't even get a pizza delivered, and the pizza place was literally like not even 2 miles away from my house. And they were like, "Oh, we don't deliver over there because that's like a dangerous area." And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And they were like, "Yeah." And when Lyft and Uber started, it was very hard for me to get like Lyfts and Ubers because people didn't want to come to where I lived. And I know but I worked in like a white area, and so I could get rides home on Lyft, but then like they'd be like, "Oh, you live over here." Like I remember people like
yeah, they
specifically
probably like
make
if they try to drop you off 3 blocks away, you're like, no, that's too much. Yeah, that's too much.
yeah, because like I lived in a cove, which is like a dead end. So like people thought I was trying to like set them up because I lived in a cove, and so you pull into a cove, you have to do a circle to get out, and like people didn't want to pull into my driveway, and I was just like, this is like how people saw me, even though I'm Black, people are gonna see you how they see you. But because I lived in the hood, people saw me like worse. And it really sucked because I had to work harder to make people's perceptions of me better. And I didn't like feeling like that. I didn't like having to do that. And then just overall trying to do stuff every day was like harder. Like somebody tried to break into my house when I lived in the hood. Um, it's harder to get like mail service, like certain, like if I wanted to get like a recycling thing, and they also charge me more for like my sewage removal and all that other stuff. um I live in
Yeah,
the South, so
insurance costs more there too. You would pay a higher in car insurance rate as well. Um, by living if you live in a hood, you're gonna do that too. But I want to address this comment really quickly, and then I want to bring another person up because I only have like 5 more minutes before I actually have to leave. Dee said too many Black teens suffering depression and esteem issues because they're the minority at an all-white school in a white neighborhood where they're bullied with no protection. So listen, bullying happens in every school. You just have a different type of bullying. In the hood, your kid might be bullied based on their skin tone, or if they pretty, if they too dark, if they too light, if they wearing the wrong color clothes, if a boy liked them or looked at them that they weren't interested in. Though you gonna have bullying that's gonna take place in the hood too, and it's gonna affect their self-esteem. Whereas if you teach your child how to defend themselves, or if you yourself as a parent know how to combat racism, then you're not going to have that problem. I was the only Black person in school several times. I promise you ain't no white person picked on me. I wasn't one of those kids who had white people coming up saying racist stuff to me. Never, at no point in time. It didn't happen in elementary, it didn't happen in middle, and it didn't happen in high school. Even when I was in school in Portland and in Vancouver, Washington, the biggest issue that I was having was actually from the Black people who were in there. Actually, the Black males who were in those schools. Those are the issues that I was having. It wasn't with well, we did have some issue in high school with racism. It wasn't because white people were coming and saying things. It was with the administration. And my mom handled it very well. My mom handled it. I've had to go into schools with my sister, with my biracial nephew, to deal with and address the racism in school from white women. So I say that to say you're going to have bullying in every school, and you're going to have self-esteem issues among teenagers because that's when they develop in their sense of self. So no way to avoid bullying. It's just a different type of bullying. You have hood bullying versus being in the suburbs with white people and they gonna make racial comments. I don't know who's dealing with that, but I ain't never dealt with it. But I ain't saying nobody haven't, but I'm saying I have not, because I would drag, please. It's like
I
I
dealt
will
with it when I was in.
go ahead. Like for real. How did
No,
you
I was
deal?
saying I dealt with racism in elementary school, and I didn't even know what it was because nobody had talked to me about it. But when I dealt with it, like a girl literally called me a nigger, and did not know. If I had known then when I knew that, I would have rocked her ass. But whatever. But I
I dealt with
experienced
it a
that.
lot working in the workforce. Now that's when I dealt with a lot of white women's passive aggressive, covert oppression and racism. I dealt with that in the workforce, but being in school, it wasn't an issue. Working with them, that was an issue, and that was fine because I'll deal with them. That's the thing. It's like I'm gonna deal with you. If you're a racist person and you come into me, or you're a racist woman and you think you about to come say something to me on the slide, which I've had some of them do it. Like I was at one time, I worked at the department store Mervyn's, if you remember what that was, that store. They're closed now, but it was a department store called Mervyn's. I worked there, and I was the only black woman who worked there, and there was this white chick who decided she was going to take my brush off the register and throw it in the garbage. And I know why she did that, because usually people don't take me to be somebody who's going to defend myself. I've dealt with that all the time, where people will look at me and they'll think I'm weak or that I'm not going to defend myself. So I kindly had to let that girl know that she go either get in that garbage can and get my brush out of it, or she's going to go in it with her. And that's what I said. And I said it with a smile on my face too. I'm going to let you get my brush out the garbage, or I'm going to put you in there with it. And then she got my brush out.
White people do like to do stuff like that.
Yeah. And I simply just told her, I'm going to put you in the garbage with my brush if you don't get it out. And then she played victim, but I bet you she got my brush out, because it's like, no one told you to touch my stuff. And I don't know who raised you, but you don't get to go around and touch other people's stuff. If you had a question about it, you should have opened your damn mouth and asked, but you didn't. And so now I have to let you know what I'm going to do to you if you don't get my brush out of there. And it's like, you can go cry victim as much as you want to. I can play victim too. That's what she did. That's what I didn't understand. You ain't the only one who can play victim. I'm thinking I'm going to play victim way better than you. So let the games begin if you want to play. Because it's like, I'm not the one that's going to play. Because I'm not going to do the strong black woman thing. I'm going to do the damsel in distress. I'm going to work myself right into a panic attack. And then I'm going to have y'all get an ambulance for me. And then we're going to be discussing like a severance package for me to leave. That's what we're going to end up discussing at that point. That's what we do.
Yep. And that's why it's important to like live in both types of areas, because it teaches you how to deal with people. Like if you grow up in the hood your whole life, I'm not saying that you won't know how to deal with people, but the way that you deal with people is going to be way different than when you grew up in the suburbs. Like it exposes you to a lot more.
Yep, it is. But I actually have to jump off of here. I think black people should live in the suburbs because it will teach them how to actually deal with the form of racism that white women usually subscribe to. Because white women do something that I like to call, they like to weaponize weakness. So they'll act extremely weak, and they'll do that as a weapon against somebody else around them. And it's usually like a black person, where they're going to act like they need to be protected from this person. Oh, I'm scared of this person. So I already know they have a tendency of doing that. So I generally do that before they do. I beat them to the punch. My goal then is like, okay, sooner or later, this woman is going to be a victim. She's going to jump in the victim role. So now I'm thinking, let me jump into the victim role as her victim. Let me jump into a position of a victim of hers so that she can then say I'm victimizing her, because now she has to defend herself against victimizing me. And that's usually how I play that. I'm going to be the victim first. You're just beating them to the victim position. and I just sat in that chair before you did. So now I'm a victim of you, and you therefore no longer have the opportunity to say I victimize you. And then I win. And it's like I win because I thought like them. So.
Exactly. But I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna jump down. Thanks for letting me come up again. I hope you have a great weekend. I hope everybody in the chat has a great weekend, and we'll see you, I guess, for your next stream on Tuesday.
Yes, absolutely. I'm probably I might give you guys some content. I'm working on the I'm about to drop an exclusive content. It's probably going to be on codependent relationship types. So, or what is a codependent relationship? So, I'm going to be working on that. I'm going to start working on it this weekend. I also have to write those. So, I'm not saying the lesson is going to be ready this weekend, but I'm definitely going to start working on it. So, I'm going to start working on that content, and then yeah, I'll see you guys in the next recorded video. If I can get one out this weekend, I'll give you guys the bonus weekend, a bonus video. But I had to go to therapy, and I need to get a drink of water and get myself in a mindset first. So bye. I will see y'all later.